Michelle,
Jacque.
hello.
Hello, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing pretty good considering the circumstances, but I'm really excited about the interview and us reconvening our segments for City Views.
No, it is very exciting. And obviously, we're not the only ones that have had to become creative to be able to move things along and to ensure that we can still have conversations and kind of take things a little bit more normal than what we've been living in those circumstances lately. But I'm really happy to be here and that we're going back on track.
Well, it's very important right now, too, Michelle, that we do this with a long-term vision in mind in regards to touching upon those issues and those topics that are relevant and making sure that we're building our credibility as we're going forward. There's a void right now, obviously, and you're probably privy to this in regards to how information is disseminated and how it's received. And it's even more vitally important in this particular time that we try to report what we know is true and verifiable to the best of our ability.
That's true. And I think that we really have to have a conversation about the ongoing honesty and transparency. In the middle of this pandemic that we've had, it's very hard to find your place and your responsibility, regardless of your position. So even as the state legislator that represents the Torrington area, you often find yourself sitting here trying to say, what else can I do? What else can I do? How do I get information to folks? And how do we ensure that we try to lessen the fear and give out as much honest and up-to-date information as possible? And as you know, that's always been something that's been of importance to me, to be as transparent and informative as possible. And at the same time, giving you all of the honest information to the best of my ability to what I have it. And so I've been doing that in, ensuring that the conversation is fluid and direct from the governor's office down, because I think that regardless of what's happening at the federal level, it's definitely more important what's happening at the state level and then what's happening at the local level. And so I've been taking all of that information that we are getting on a daily basis and forwarding that out, not only on my personal Facebook page, but my state Facebook page. And then we're also doing e-blasts regularly to send out pertinent information as well to people that have joined up to our email lists. And then we're actually also doing a mailer now too, to give some pandemic up-to-date information if you don't have access to any of those venues of information.
Well, Michelle, I think it's kind of interesting because I know a couple years ago when I personally started attending the Connecticut Business Days at the Capitol, there were already some pretty innovative solutions being put into place in regards to how the technology can be used in an effort to gain more better positions on a public policy level. So now with the coronavirus situation going on, I guess it's kind of made those efforts a little bit more urgent. And how do you feel how that's going to affect your work going forward?
I think that it gives us the opportunity to reach out to people in ways that maybe they were not used to, or in sometimes maybe not even comfortable with. Somebody's like, oh, I don't want to receive a text message, or I'm not comfortable getting my information from an email. But I think at the same time, when we're really talking about this, that they know that that's the direct line of communication. We cannot go have town halls or, knock on somebody's door and it's, nobody wants to answer their phone. And so the only way to access information are going to be from those social media type of, media streams, if you will. I mean, even the newspaper, I know that there's people that won't even pick up a newspaper. They're afraid that the COVID-19 can be passed by, something that it has touched, and you don't know who's delivering your newspaper. You don't know if they're wearing gloves. And so I know that there's people, really truly worried about this. And so some of the only means that you have is what you see on TV or what you can get online.
What's your feeling, Michelle? I mean, this is as the old saying goes, these are the times that try men's souls. How do you evaluate a situation like this, knowing on one hand you've been personally affected by it, and on the other hand, trying to be objective enough to know from a public policy perspective that you're providing the right solutions for the community?
You know, it's never about me personally. It's about everybody as a whole. You know, we are not one person. We are a group of people collected together by a community and a state and a country. You know, yes, this virus has hit my home personally, you know, with the loss of my father-in-law on April 2nd. He was the first death from Litchfield Woods to our knowledge. And, you know, so for me, I understand what that has done to family members, how it is to grieve without being able to be with your loved one, how it is to see a loved one deteriorate and you can't be by their bedside, especially when you're a family that is always by their side. You know, it makes you take a step back and to really, truly rethink how we are doing public policy and where our gaps are. You know, and as we've started this, I have a notebook, and every day that I'm on a conference call or anytime I'm at a news conference and I'm listening to those things and what have you, I'm taking notes on what somebody has said that really triggers, we need to do this better and we're doing this right. And, you know, at the end of the day, it has to be about, again, the fluid, honest, transparent conversations. If people are afraid, they need to know that they can trust the person they're getting their information from. People have to understand that, you know, if you know me, you know I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you as straight as it is and do the best that I can to help you through whatever the crux is that you have. And regardless of what time or day that is. You know, last night at 10:30, I was helping a woman try to get in touch with a loved one that she has in a nursing home in Danbury, and she lives here. So that eases a family member's pain and angst. That's our job. You know, you see restaurants around town, you know, you've got like Vinny's and a whole host of other folks that are delivering food to all sorts of first responders and, you know, medical workers. You have people that are donating their time to make masks. You have, you know, people that are out doing grocery shopping for other people, and you name it. People are getting back to the true roots and crux of what a community is. And and the rest of the City Views crew, we've talked about this in length, about really remembering who we are as a country, who we are as a community, and what we do to rally around each other. And that's what's happening here, but in a totally different way. All of those things make a huge impact when we start back to our legislative session, whenever that might be, and how we improve our community, our healthcare system, and all of those other things where we find that there's gaps, and better ourselves. God forbid this ever happens again.
Michelle, can you just do a little educating here for us? I think this is a great opportunity to make this a teachable moment. Talk to us a little bit about how those coordination efforts are so critical between municipalities, between the state, between the federal government, how they work together, especially in times of national emergencies and crisis, so that we get the full impact of what the resources that are available to us.
Well, obviously, you know, we have our chain of commands, and then you have the branches of government. So if you talk about the federal level, there's a direct connect between our federal delegation and the folks in the White House that are making some decisions. And then you take that level and you move that down to the governor's office and his staff. And so if you have a conversation between the White House, the congressional delegation, and the gubernatorial staff and our governor, and then you trickle that down a little bit further, and they're all a little bit above where we are right here. And so for us right here in the municipality, you trickle that down a tad. You have your department heads, so all of your commissioners of all of your departments, and then so they answer to the governor, but they also have liaisons that answer to the legislators. So our obligation and responsibility is to keep open and honest communication with those liaisons to ensure that if we're lacking in some area, we can get it back to the commissioners and to the governor's office, and they can help fill the need. At the same time, you have at the local level, your EOC, your emergency operation folks. And so ours in Torrington is our fire chief, Chief Towie, who has been working direct contact with our chief from the police department, Billy Baldwin. And then they report in partnership with the mayor and our area public health. I've been in a good amount of those conversations as well. At that point, they are also responsible to work with our local hospitals and other first responders to ensure that there is a fluid system on need and accessibility. And so if somebody reaches out to me, I direct them in the appropriate place. And that is the same for everybody else. We have a constant conversation to ensure that anybody's needs are met to the best of our ability at the most rapid and immediate time. And if the fire chief called and said, Michelle, we're missing something, I would help him with that. But he also has a direct line up the food chain to the state EOC. And this is what they plan for. They plan and train for emergencies of this magnitude. And we have to rely on their expertise as well.
I just think it's very important to understand the functioning of our government and how our systems come together so that we're responsive. Because I think that there's that breakdown sometimes between our systems, how they're administered, and how they're perceived by the public. And especially at a time when there's so much mistrust from the residents and the citizens who are not involved in our government functions, and how they relate to the actual implementation of our policies. And situations like this, especially when you have gaps in the administration of certain resources, I think that builds that element of mistrust that so desperately at times like this need to those avenues of trust need to be bonded.
No, and I think that's true. And that's why I believe that if we can ensure that everything starts local, it's vitally important that we take care of our own, we look out for each other, and you take with a grain of salt some of the information. And when tragedy strikes, we find ourselves attracted to it in a way that you don't want to shut off the TV. You want to ensure that you get all of the information. But then you have so much conflicting information, whether it be from the federal level to the state level and what have you, that now relies on people to dissect what they're going to believe and what they're not going to believe. And I often encourage everybody to do their research and talk to the local folks specifically, because what might be good for one state is not good for another. What might be good for one part of our state might not be good for another part of our state. We've recognized with this pandemic specifically that it has hit the west side of Connecticut much harder than maybe it has hit the east side of Connecticut. So we have to handle these things differently. And it's not as easy as somebody just says, well, let's get everybody back here, or let's just do this and flip the switch. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is if we don't do this appropriately, cautiously, and with foresight, we're going to end up right back to where we are and where we have been over the last month. And, this is not as easy on any of us. You see lives being lost, you see graduations being canceled, you see weddings being postponed. People have been sitting at home from work for over a month now. Nobody likes to make these decisions. Nobody has asked to be put in a position that you have to make these decisions. But we are put in a position to ensure that you are protecting the safety and well-being and the health of your entire community. And I understand that that's very difficult for some people to say, that we are stealing their constitutional rights by telling them they have to put on a face mask, or that a business might need to be shut down for a while. And people are comparing this or liking this to like it's just a simple flu. I think that we need to truly rely on the doctors and the medical professionals to direct us in some of those ways. And those doctors and medical professionals are saying, slow down. We might be seeing a little bit of flattening of this curve, but we haven't seen it flatten to enough where we're ready to open the doors. And my fear is that we maybe here, but we nationwide are going to be a little short-sighted to this. And this becomes worse than what it is right now.
You're putting out the warning signals very appropriately, I might add. And this is why it's so important that we have information that we can rely on. I know that people have a huge mistrust of our media.
Right.
Be that as it may, City Views, we're a part of the media now. So again, it's very important that we establish those bars of credibility so that people know it's not about us and where we're coming from, but it is about the community. It is about making sure that the not only the physical health of the community is a priority, but the mental and the spiritual health of the community is important as well. And when you have situations where you're putting out false information and not adhering to those high journalistic standards of credibility, then you're cheating your community. And
well, and I think that we are, we all have opinions about a lot of things. How we express those opinions, I think, creates either the positive moving forward or the negative moving forward. And over the last 24 hours, I've had multiple people say to me, there was this person in the store and they were yelling at me because, this or that, or I asked somebody to move because they were too close to me and they were like, well, how dare you talk to me like that? Or, the confrontation about if you're in a public place, why don't you have a mask on? Because that's the executive order. I believe that there was a time many years before you and I where there was that rule of no shirt, no shoes, no service. And I don't mean to make this a casual plea for conversation, but I do mean to say that for many, many years now, people have been directed on how you may have to maintain yourself in a public place. And if being in a public place for the next month, 6 months, or however it takes, and for us to wear some type of facial coverings to slow a curve, don't we think that that's the least that we can do to make our community a safer place? Or using the Instacart people and the delivery services and keep as many people home as possible. In my world, one death is one too many.
Right.
And we know that we do lose people every day, every minute of every day for a variety of different things. In the modern world of technology and research, it's very hard to swallow that you're losing the amount of people that you're losing to a virus that we can't catch up with. And we know that there's multiple strains of it. We know that it hits different countries differently because we all live a little bit differently. It hits socioeconomical, groups differently. It hits, race and ethnicity a tad bit differently. This is bigger than just the simple flu. And we need to take a step back from maybe our own frustrated opinions about being cooped up for the amount of time that we have, whether it be the 30 days or the 40 or 50 days. We need to take a step back and we need to recognize that this is not something simple. This is not the media making up hype. This is not somebody trying to win an election. This is a crisis. This is a crisis that has truly opened our eyes on where some of our flaws are.
And thank God we have the medical community in place to help us understand these complicated biological issues that most people have to study years for in order to get a grip on. It's just one element of what makes America exceptional. The fact that we have these great institutions, worldwide institutions, that America has produced to go throughout the world to not only promote democracy, but also to promote humanity. And right. I think those observations can't be lost in this discussions. We got to know who we are.
We do, but at the same time of figuring out who we are, we have to be respectful of each other. And, we might not all agree on all of the stuff, but there's a way to be respectful and have an honest conversation as opposed to be hateful and degrading and belligerent and violent. You know, for somebody to say to me, you know, telling me that I can't go anywhere without a face mask on is against my right to protest. I'm a little confused by that. You know, I think that we have bigger issues than whether or not you're being asked to wear a face mask. You know, we have hundreds of thousands of people that are unemployed. You know, we have people that are going without food. We have people that are making some of the most difficult decisions that they're ever going to have to make in their entire life. This does not fall idle on any one of us that are trying to make decisions to make us become safer as this moves forward. But, you know, but there again, we also have to realize that it's not about I, it's about we. And, you know, as I've always been told, there's no I in team. This is just one big team. And if we can't realize it's about all of us and not just one of us, we're not going to get through this. And that doesn't mean just here for COVID. That means through all of it.
And Michelle, that's why, you know, it makes me so proud to be able to call you my friend. From the day you first set on the political scene to make a difference in your community, I've always believed in your honesty and sincerity in doing that. And it's not like we agree on every single issue.
No.
And I think that I've been very, you know, upfront with you in terms of those positions that I hold strongly. But I think at the end of the day, it's not about us agreeing on each and every issue. It's about us understanding who we are in the panacea of this great American fabric and how we can use the abilities that we've been blessed with to make our communities better each and every day. And I think in that regard, Michelle, you've exceeded expectations. And I think that it's been a situation, especially here on City Views, where your contributions to the show just cannot be counted. So we want to wish you the best in your continued endeavors, and we look forward to continuing this segment with you and you sharing with us those issues that you feel are important and that need to be highlighted in the community.
Well, thank you for that. You know, and if we can do nothing else but to look out for each other, maybe make a phone call and you know what, that doesn't stop when the curve of COVID slows down. That should never stop. You know, I think that there's a couple of incredible things that have come out of where we are for the last 30 or 60 days. You know, our environment is healthier. Families are spending much more time together. People are sitting around a dinner table and having food together. You know, we're taking walks, although our pets might not be very happy because they're walking 5 or 6 times instead of maybe once. You know, I suspect that our animals are very confused that why their owners are home all the time now. But you know, if nothing else comes out of this, our sense of strength, community, and compassion has truly shown, you know, 99.9% of the time. And when you have folks that, you know, like Tecapos, who have laid off all of their employees for the most part, but they're feeding them because they don't have the ability maybe to find all the means to be able to put meal on their table or choose to pay rent. You know, when you have people that are making surgical masks or face coverings and donating them out, when you have 3D printers that are sitting in tech schools that are now making face shields and other things, you know, we're an inventive group of folks. We're a giving community. You know, that it's really about what we're going to do to better ourselves and learn from this. And if that means that we need to hire 10,000 more CNAs to work in a nursing home, you know what? We need to hire 10,010 because it's never going to be enough. If we need to start stockpiling our medical equipment, then let's start doing that. You know, we should never be in a situation where we don't have what we need. We are the greatest country in the world. But we need to ensure that we better ourselves, learn from ourselves, and look out for each other. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have is each other.
Well, we might be quote unquote the greatest country in the world, but we still the new kids on the block.
Well,
There's still some lessons that we need to learn, especially on the global scene. And
Well, and that's true. I mean, we should not necessarily be reliant upon another country for everything that we need in one specific area or another. We see what that vulnerability does for us.
absolutely,
And so if we can do that, and you know me well enough to know that I say all the time, I'm not the one to sit here and give you all the answers, but I would love to have somebody's suggestions, coming my way.
absolutely.
Emails, Facebook, text messages, phone calls, send me a note in the mail, the snail mail. Our postmasters need our help. You got to reach out and talk to folks,
Yep.
because that's the only way we're going to get it better, is to do it together.
Yep. Michelle, I'm so grateful for your time today. And as always, wishing you the very, very best in all your efforts and in helping to make Torrington and your region be the best that it can possibly be.
And thank you. You know what? We've been down a lot of roads together, in a variety of different venues, from ballparks to, picnics. It's been a true pleasure being able to watch the growth and your dedication to our community as well. So thank you.
No problem, anytime. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to the City View staff and wish them well during this little brief hiatus. I want to give a big shout out to Dan, as always, Daniel Yannick as well. Weibo, we're wishing you and your family the very, very best. Melissa Crofts, Catherine Pezzi, Stephanie Barksdale, Meg Capon, and always Doug Harold down at Altice. Want to wish him and his family the best. And we want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Toth Insurance Agency, and Steve Toth for all the support for bringing City Views to our audience. So once again, we're wishing each and every one of you the very, very best. Stay safe, stay sound, stay hunkered down until it's time to rise again. In the meantime, we'll see you back with more right here on City Views. I'm Jacque Williams. Peace out.